Hi, my name is Alex and this is Under the Radar, my attempt to spread awareness about how awesome VR can be. And today we're looking at UEVR. On my last video about Silent Hill 2 remake, there were some comments about how to get this VR mod running. And because I want you to play the games as showcase, I think a dedicated video is quite suitable. The following guide does not only apply to Silent Hill, but also to other games made in Unreal Engine 5. For that, I also will show you Lies of P for the HUD settings, as well as the Spryo Reignited trilogy for the error message you get at the start and how to solve it. Keep in mind that I'm also just a normal user, so I have no in-depth knowledge, but I will put my personal experience in it. So without further ado, let's dive in and get the files and the settings. The first part is about getting the UEVR app itself. I put all necessary links in the description down below. I'll head over for the Braydog's GitHub page for that. There are always two versions available, the official stable release and the most up-to-date one, also called the nightly. I always download the nightly version because I've never had any issues with it. Especially with new game releases, the nightly version probably already supports them. So click on Nightly Release, scroll down to uevr.zip and download the file to your PC. Then extract the zip file to your location you prefer. I'll put the zip and the extraction on my desktop, but that's totally up to you. Inside the extracted folder, you'll find the UEVR injector.exe. Since this file needs to have access to other games and you have to run this app every time you want to jump into VR, you should right-click on the exe, go to Properties, then Compatibility, and select Run this program as administrator. This way, it always will run as admin every time you open the app. Basically, if the injector works, it usually works right out of the box. But since I also want Silent Hill 2 running in first person with motion controls, I also add a profile for it. A profile is a zip file with settings and mods already pre-made by other users. For Silent Hill 2, I'm using Braydog's profile, which is also on his GitHub. Click on Latest Release and download the zip file. Two important things. First, do not extract the zip, and secondly, do not rename it. Otherwise, the injector won't know for which game the setting is for. In the UEVR app, click on Import Config and select the zip file. Afterward, the folder with the zip contents will open, but you can close that folder again since we are not configuring anything in there. With the profile installed, let's start the game and inject the mod. The most important part here is to wait until the game has fully loaded. Either wait until you are at the main menu or load the save to be in-game before you do anything else. The main menu should be safe, but you can also start the game, watch the cutscene in flat mode first, then switch to VR. For Silent Hill, I always load my save file first. In-game, there are a few settings I want to point out. For Silent Hill and other new games released within the last year, make sure frame generation is off. Also, the resolution upscaling method needs to be adjusted. Since I'm using an NVIDIA graphics card, I use DLS balanced. If you have an AMD chip, then FSR tends to provide a better frame rate, though with a slight hit to image quality. Once you are in the game, hit Alt and Tab and focus the UEVR app. There's a drop-down box at the top. Make sure it's set to the game's name. Before hitting the Inject button, a small note about the runtime underneath. Depending on which VR headset you use, this radio box needs to be set accordingly. For Steam VR headsets like Valve Index, the PlayStation VR 2 with a PC adapter, or probably the soon-to-come Steam Deckard Steam Frame, this setting needs to be Open VR. If you are using a Quest 2 or Quest 3 with a virtual desktop like I do, the OpenXR is the correct one. Yes, you can use Steam VR with virtual desktop, but OpenXR is the way to get the best performance. If you're using virtual desktop, pay attention to the codec in the Streamer app. VDXR should be used for the best communication with OpenXR. So now that the game is running in the background and the runtime is selected, hit Inject. In the best case scenario, your headset will immediately switch over to the game and you will be in. From here you are basically good to go, but there's now a new options menu for UEVR. To access it, hit the L3 and R3 buttons. That's pressing both thumbsticks in. A new window should pop up in the front of you. I won't go over every setting, but there are a few options you need to know. First, if you experience flickering or the game only renders on one eye, change the rendering method under the Unreal settings. There's native stereo, sync sequential, and alternating AFR. According to the UEVR webpage, native stereo should work right out of the box, but synced with skip draw is also a viable option. The AFR option should only be used if the other two fail. Once any flickering is gone, head over to the Runtime tab. For OpenXR, you can increase the resolution scale here. Keep in mind, a higher value here is better for visual clarity, but comes with a performance cost. Also, remember that this resolution scale is tied to Virtual Desktop's render resolutions, which you can set up in the Streamer app in Virtual Desktop using settings like Godlike or Ultra. So if the resolution scale in UEVR is already very high, make sure to lower the resolution in Virtual Desktop first. If you are using OpenVR, the resolution scale can be set within Steam's options. The last relevant option for Silent Hill is the Input tab. Silent Hill is normally a game best played with a console controller, and with Bradock's profile the game is also set up that way. But VR controllers don't have a digital pad. To mimic these directional buttons, there's the D-pad shifting, so that your thumbsticks become your D-pad. There are two options to enable your thumbsticks as a D-pad. Option 1 is using the left or right thumb rest and then using the thumbstick. The thumb rest is the area next to the buttons. If you rest your thumb on this area, the thumbstick then will act as your D-pad. I personally dislike this option. I often just place my thumb there for better grip, and then the game recognizes this as a D-pad input, which then opens the map or changes the weapons. The other option I use is the headset mode. By holding the left controller next to your head, the controller vibrates and then functions with the D-pads. For me, that method is more reliable. One thing to note, if UEVR points out that frame generation is detected, that note only means that the game has the option for frame gen, even if you've disabled it. Don't panic. That's about it for Silent Hill 2 in VR. Once you do it a few times, you get the hang of it. Next up, let's get Lies of P running. For this, I'll quit all games and restart the UEVR injector. I won't cover the first person mode just yet, so just start the game and wait until the main menu appears. Then Alt-Tab, select the game and hit Inject. For Lies of P, I personally play with an Xbox controller, and this works also right out of the box. What I'd like to show you with this game is the HUD. Unlike Silent Hill, where the HUD is almost mostly invisible and only shows the number of ammo and health items, Lies of P has some important on-screen elements that are crucial for the Souls-like genre. Basically, the HUD in VR is a flat screen floating in front of you. You can tweak it to your liking. Open the UEVR menu with L3 and R3 and then select Runtime. Under Overlay options, you'll find the UI distance and UI size, which position the in-game HUD for a better view. I like to have it a bit smaller to get all the relevant data quickly without turning my head too much. There is also a curvature option I see other YouTubers use, but I'm fine with a flat screen. Another option you can play with if you're playing third-person games is the camera options. If you think your character is too far away or too close, change the sliders to get an even closer view over P's shoulder. You can save these camera positions and then reload them. This is useful if you are playing games where you need a third person while walking and first person while driving a car. If you want to get really fancy, the world scale option can make the game world look huge and yourself really tiny, and vice versa. There's no correct option for how you want to view the world. For Lies of P and other Souls-likes, I'll do another YouTube essay someday. If you don't want to miss it, subscribing is highly recommended. Lastly, let's take a look at Spryo and the remake of the first 3 games. If you start UEVR and then select the game, UEVR will show you a message that the VR plugins have been detected. Ignoring this message will result in a crash to desktop. Click OK on the message and then Yes to open the directory. In this path there is an Open VR folder in which a DLL file prevents the injection. The easiest way is to rename the folder into something else, like old or backup or just an underscore somewhere. You can also rename the DLL file itself. Just make sure the path or the file is out of UEVR's ways. Last step, in the Steam library, you go to the Options menu, hit Properties, and under the Launch options, type in -no-HMD. This was the only way the game worked in VR for me. Some comments in Discord point out that you don't need to do that anymore, but if you come across a game with that pop-up, now you know a possible fix. The message about the plugins might still come up, but with the setting Nullify VR plugins, all other DLLs should be disabled by UEVR itself. So now you know the basics on how to use UEVR as a starter. I highly recommend checking out the Flat2 VR Discord. The UE Games thread is adding new games and updates daily, especially now with the Steam Next Fest. And the community is very helpful and posts profiles with the recommended settings. Side notes, there's also the UEVR Easy Injector, but I've never really used it and can't say much about it. For profiles you can also head over to uevrprofiles.com, but I don't know how up to date these profiles are. So I hope you found this short guide helpful. Feel free to tinker with the mentioned settings. Every game has their own tweaks and every gamer has their own preferences. I know that gamers always shiver when they hear that the game is made in Unreal Engine 5. But for me then it's always the question, does it run in VR? So thank you for watching and as always, safe travels.